All right. Well,
Are we getting into it? Are we doing this?
I think so.
Okay.
But I was gonna say first, we are a two-woman show, balling on a budget team. Um, so we don't have like those, like we don't have an attorney that's gonna tell us, here, this is the exact disclaimer you're supposed to say. But I do feel like, especially for this episode, we do need to put a disclaimer out there that this, what we're going to cover is gnarly. It involves not just a mention of, lots of talk and discussion about abuse, domestic abuse, violence, unaliveness. It's brutal.
It is brutal.
So please, like, feel free to stop this if you need to. Make sure that if you have children or sensitive ears around, that you listen to it first before someone else might overhear it or before you share it with anyone else.
Yeah, it's filled with domestic violence and
And just brutal crime.
yeah.
Just any kind of violence there is, that it happened. Um,
And of course, it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, so we
yes,
thought this would be the perfect case to cover.
yes, it is very sad, but I do also feel like we say this often, but one of our goals for sure is to make sure that victims aren't, their story doesn't stop getting told, and that they're not, what happened to them is not who they were.
Hmm.
So I think as sad and as gnarly as what we're about to get into is, it's important.
Yeah. So this case was featured on a show that I watched called Body Cam. The episode is called Taken by Surprise. It's season 3, episode 1. So we're going to be pulling a lot from that. I wish shows like this. I love the show, obviously. I've watched all the
It's a
seasons.
really good
It's
show.
really good.
And
And
I'm
it's
so sorry, but I've been filming for like 82 days straight, and this is bugging the shit out of me. Much better.
there we go.
Woo! Now you can not, because I ain't no
Glow.
angel. I ain't no angel, baby.
But so this is where we found this case. It happened in Henry County, Georgia, which is like 20 mims outside of Atlanta. I think
Yeah,
it's
it's not
south.
far from where we are.
Yeah,
So to us, it's still very much like local. And I don't know, at some points, I think we feel like Tennessee and Georgia are just one
they're
big
all
old
same.
situation.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. Literally, I grew up in North Georgia and now live in Tennessee, and so it's like,
Yep.
where'd you grow up? I grew up here, but I
Here.
actually grew
Yeah.
up in North Georgia and now,
Yep.
but it's all one area. So, Sandra White is her name. She was 39 years old. She was a nurse. She was very close to her siblings.
Hmm.
She talked to her sister every single day.
Her brother too, a
Her
lot. They
brother,
were all very, very close.
very close. Sandra was a nurse. She worked at a local hospital. She was,
We love nurses.
yes, we do. Thank God for them.
Thank God.
My Brandy, my one of my best friends, she's going through nursing school right now.
It's crazy.
I don't
It's
her
crazy.
mental health, like
They are so smart,
they're so smart.
so empathetic.
And I can tell her something that's going on with me and she'll have me diagnosed within 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah,
My mom's a nurse too, so she does
but
that.
also it's like, okay, I got a diagnosis. Like, so what do we do now? And it's like, we hang out, we we
We talk
we
about it.
rest. Yeah, like,
You just need a hot beverage.
yeah, yeah. Hot tea,
Yes.
maybe some apple crown,
Yeah.
hot.
Hottie toddy.
Hot, yes,
Yeah.
like they're so great. Whereas
Nurses.
I do feel like most doctors nowadays just want to give you something
Hmm.
instead of trying to see if there's a way to naturally
Yeah,
at
fix
least
it.
try to put a dent in it.
Yeah.
No, nurses are like, you either need to
Nurses.
go to sleep, drink a little, maybe smoke something.
Drink some water, get some
Yeah, go
hydration,
out
go
with
to
your
bed.
friends and laugh, go
Hmm.
sit out in the sun,
Yeah.
lay in the grass. Like they're
They're
always,
simple fixes.
yeah.
So Sandra White, she's 39. She is a mother of a 16-year-old who's in high school. His name's Arkeyvon. He played football, typical mother-son relationship. What I was going to say is I wish shows would show more about the victims. Like you said, they're not what happened to them.
Yep.
They're more than that. But in an hour span, you can only give so much information. And
Yes.
I think Body Cam did a really great job of this.
I do too. And, they were the two victims that lost their life in this, but there were two other victims. And it, I'm not saying that it wouldn't have happened either way, but the victims that survived this were officers who were doing anything and everything in their power to get the two that have been unalived out of it, and they didn't know that they were already deceased at the
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So
They
to
were in a
me,
lose-lose.
right, but I just find it so commendable, like, because they were it was a small town, like quaint little neighborhood thing, and
A nice neighborhood.
yeah, it
Their house
is.
was beautiful.
Yes, the whole neighborhood is very, very
Mm-hmm.
pretty. But it's one of those, like, the police department and the officers, they're patrol officers, they are not necessarily equipped for what happened, but boy, did they make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, no, we got this. And they did it.
Very tactical.
That's not like, it's just really, really nice to, unfortunately, people were hurt and they were hurt too. But I love their passion for their job and, like, m- try and just do anything and everything. Like, the one got hurt worse because he needed to see where
Where everyone was.
yeah, and, like, and then the other one was like, I mean, it's just crazy. It's really sad, but
Mm-hmm.
I do feel like I feel sad for the officers because I think they really wanted
A good
the
outcome.
outcome that they found was not the outcome they were fighting to get.
Yeah.
I just hope they don't have any doubts in what they were doing.
I hope
Like,
so.
or that they could have done things differently because they couldn't have.
Yeah.
They couldn't have.
Yeah.
But
So in April of 2019, Sandra is 8 months pregnant. She is living with her boyfriend, whose name is Anthony Bailey. He went by Tony. She's also living with her 16-year-old son, Arkeyvon,
I
in
have to
this house.
say, when people comment on pictures of Bentley and I, and it's like, he's like double your size. They were the same way,
Yep.
and it's so cute.
He was a big old
He
boy.
was, but you could tell, like, I still joke. I'm like, but I'll still whip Bentley's ass. Like,
Hmm.
I know she would have wore his butt out too, but, like, you don't have to when you've got such a close relationship with
Hmm.
your kids. Like, but he literally is double her size,
Yeah.
and she's 8 months pregnant.
And
Like,
she's
he is
8 months.
a big dude,
Yeah.
and he played football, obviously.
And he played football.
Yeah.
Yeah. So every day on her way to work as a nurse at the hospital, she would call her sister. Her sister's name was Anitria, and Anitria was a teacher. So they would text each other when they got up. By the time they got in the car to go to work as a teacher for Anitria and a nurse for Sandra, they would talk to each other on the phone, like on
Mm-hmm.
the way to work. Well, Anitria called her that morning and she didn't answer. She didn't answer her text, which was weird because they did it every morning. And on her way to work at the school, she gets a call from the hospital where Sandra works. And they say, hey, Sandra didn't come into work today. This is not like her. Is she okay? She's 8 months pregnant. Can we check
Mm-hmm.
on her? So Anitria turns around and goes back to Sandra's house to see if
Mm-hmm.
she's okay. And trigger warning, this is where it gets ugly.
Mm-hmm.
As she pulls up, she's on the phone with her brother, Terrell, who's also trying to call Sandra.
I have a question, totally off subject. Do we know what Terrell does for a living?
No, I don't.
Because watching him he is just like his sisters, but to have like if I was the mom that had like a teacher and a nurse and like a solid young man as my son, I would be like, I win. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like such public servants
Uh-huh.
they are.
I bet he looked like he was in like construction or like
Yeah, and I could
building stuff.
yeah, and I could also see him like coaching like youth
Oh,
sport, you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like or doing um
But
Big Brother things,
yeah, Big Brother, Big
yes,
Sisters,
stuff like
volunteer
that.
work.
Yeah, like he's just got that vibe.
Good good
That
family values this
yes.
family has.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Very, very sweet hearted people.
Yeah. So Anitria calls Terrell, brother and sister. They're going to Sandra's house in Henry County, Georgia. And when they pull up to her house, they notice this stain coming down the driveway. The driveway was kind of at a slope, and the house was like at the top of it. And there was, like a two-car garage and the front porch and the house,
It's like
and
the driveway just kind of
sloped a
came down
little.
a little bit to the road.
Yeah,
Enough for like if there is a bucket of water and you literally lay it over sideways, like the
it's
water's
gonna reach.
naturally gonna slowly but surely go down.
Hmm. And so they had this long stain down this driveway, and they don't know what it is. It's dark colored. Maybe
People
they
probably
can,
can't hear that, but
if you can, emergency vehicles are near us. Um, and they realize that this is blood coming from the garage. Blood is coming from the garage all the way down the driveway into the street.
the garage doors are
The
closed.
garage doors are
They cannot
closed.
see, but it is obvious.
And it was one of those garages where they have the windows at the top where you can
Mm-hmm.
like kind of see in, but not well.
Mm-hmm.
And so Anitria goes up to the garage where this blood is trickling down and sees Sandra laying in the garage, and she thinks, "Oh God, she's having the baby.
Yeah,
Like
like
this is
something's
happening. She's
yeah.
having a medical emergency."
Mm-hmm.
Now, mind you, this is in April of 2019. The very next day, they're supposed to have a baby shower for
For
the
her,
baby.
yeah.
And
She's 8 months pregnant. I mean,
she's
she's
pregnant.
pregnant.
Yeah,
She's
she is
pregnant.
pregnant.
There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Hmm.
She's pregnant.
Yeah,
It's one of she's at the point where it could be any day type of situation.
yeah.
She's pregnant.
She's pregnant. So Anitria and Terrell, they're at the house. They see this blood. They see their sister down. They call 911. The 911 call is very triggering. So
Yes.
I can see him, ma'am. There's blood all over the driveway. You're having a baby shower on Saturday? So she's pregnant? Yeah, she's due on April 23rd. And then they call police. They call police. The first officer to arrive on scene is Officer Shannon Foster. Um, they see the blood in the driveway. They are going to try and get into the house because they see that Sandra's down. So they force entry because they're not getting any response from anyone inside of the home.
Yeah, and also when the officer was first on scene, he just called in like he was gonna go and wait for medical, and then other officers were like, "No, we're coming. We're coming."
Hmm.
Thank
Thank
goodness.
goodness.
Because this could have been even more tragic, like from a standpoint of more unalive
Yeah.
people. So thank goodness for teams.
Hmm. Officer Taylor Webb, he showed up. Officer Keegan Merritt showed up third. Officer Joseph Maddox also showed up. And I wanted to name these people because they were very crucial in getting into this house.
Absolutely.
So they break into the front door because no one's answering. They think we got to get to this woman who's in distress.
Yep. Who's
And
pregnant
who's
as well.
yes.
And it's not just her life, it's also her baby's life
Hmm.
too.
Hmm.
Like crucial.
Crucial. You got to get in. So, Officer Foster stood to kind of cover
Hmm.
for Officer Webb. He's the one who broke down the front door. And as soon as Officer Webb is inside, he's shot
Yes.
and they have to retreat,
Yes.
which is protocol
And Foster actually stays as close to the house as
as
possible
possible.
because it's once you're there and you can like find a spot where you can see them and they might not see you,
Hmm.
it's a lot easier to get something done with people that are not close to the house. So he like was there the
The
whole
whole time.
time.
Yeah.
Like the whole time. And this was hours, guys. Like
15-hour standoff.
hours. And he was there the whole time. He
Hmm.
not once left
That post.
or Sandra or the other
Because
victim.
he was kind of standing near the garage.
Yeah.
Officer Webb was at the front door. He knocks the front door down in, or he gets in, and as soon as he's in, shots fired.
Come from the other way. Yeah.
So it's like a entryway, and then to the left is like a split staircase.
Like it
And
goes up and then cuts over and then
yep,
goes up again.
yep. And so Tony was at the corner of the split
Where
staircase
it turned.
where
Yeah.
you can kind of hide behind the stairs.
Yeah.
So Officer Webb is shot. They're freaking out
He's shot
because
in the chest and he's also shot in the hip. Like right in the
yeah,
hip.
yeah. And they don't know, they can't get in contact with him. He lost
No.
his radio, he's dead, they don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So a ton of officers come to the scene.
Yeah.
Um, Anthony actually texts Anitria while this is all going on.
Mm-hmm.
He texts her, tell them not to come in. I have Arkeyvon. And she
Mm-hmm.
shows this to police because she's there freaking out,
Yep.
all this commotion, shots fired. Like she's in
She's
the back of a police car just freaking out.
super even shocked, like in I don't want to not word for word quote, but she is like, I would have never thought in her experience with Tony, she was like, I would have never picked him to be the person that's doing all of this. So she is,
Shocked.
yeah. Like at this point, she's still wondering if somebody else is in the house and if
Hmm.
her sister is good and now her nephew's involved as
Hmm.
well. Like
Yeah. Yeah. So they have a down pregnant woman in the garage, a hostage 16-year-old, a man shooting at police and have already shot police, and a police officer down in the house. This is
yes.
high stress situation.
Yes.
Well, luckily, Officer Webb was able to army
Crawl
crawl
basically, yeah.
through the dining room, through and into the garage
Yep.
where he was safe from the shooter
Yeah, and
and
he
could
said, I
check on
need
them.
to see if the victim, like, can I help her?
Yeah.
He can hardly help
Hmm.
himself right now. But the only thing on his mind was getting to her,
Yeah.
to
That
Sandra, to see how he could get her out and make sure that her and her baby could make it out of all of
that
this.
gives me chills.
It does me too, because that's just genuine service right
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
Oh my goodness gracious.
So during this whole time, during this standoff, police end up hearing a noise in the garage and they see that it's Officer Webb. Officer Joseph Maddox is the one who kicks in the garage door.
Hmm.
And literally,
And he
Officer
wasn't
Webb,
supposed to do that actually.
did you see how he
Yeah.
dived out of there?
Yes. And it's like the last little bit of strength he had.
Superhero.
Yeah, like he was dying too.
Yeah,
He had realized
multiple.
that Sandra was not alive and had not been alive
Yeah.
for a long time, for hours. But yeah, the last little bit of strength he had to dive out. But also the officer that was kicking in the girl, like he wasn't supposed, that's actually against protocol, but he was
Hmm.
like,
I don't care.
we got to do something. The reason that they didn't know if Webb was okay or not was because he would not answer when they were calling for him because he was afraid that if he gave his location away, that he would not make it. Like he would definitely be shot again and then not make it to Sandra to see if she was like what he could do to help her.
Hmm.
So he was like quiet
Purposely.
as a mouse. not saying a word on purpose so that he could see if like what he could do for Sandra.
Knowing it's killing his brothers in blue, not to know.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
like, oh
he's a good
man,
guy.
they're all, man.
Yeah, they are.
Oh.
So he was shot in the chest and in the hip, and if you go back and watch Body Cam Taken by Surprise, you can actually see the smoke coming off of his hip when
It's
they
like
finally
that,
get him to a neighbor's house and can
yeah.
like pull off all of his
Yeah, it's like his
gear.
walkie and like the bullets had obviously like penetrated the walkie on his hip,
Uh-huh.
and probably a couple other things like the taser or whatever.
Yeah,
And his hip was literally
smoking.
smoking. And he was shot in the chest too.
Yeah. Um, then Officer Keegan Merritt, who was third on the scene, he was kind of taking cover in the front yard, kind of behind a tree, but it was a small tree. It was like a newer tree,
Mm-hmm.
not very big, but he was still taking cover there. Unfortunately, Tony was able to get off a shot to Officer Keegan Merritt, and it blew his middle finger off pretty
Yeah.
much because he was standing, eh,
I think they were Tony was aiming for his head like an inch
very close.
different and you're catching
Yep.
here, or here.
Mm-hmm.
Um so literally an inch. Like taking a deep breath would move his body in
Mm-hmm.
such a way that that would have been more than likely lethal as well.
Mm-hmm.
But at least then they kind of knew where the shots were, kind of like where he might be,
Mm-hmm.
because he said he's up top, he's up top.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then he had to crawl
Away.
away with no cover.
They actually had to call in several different police departments. They called in Clayton County SWAT, DeKalb County Police, and they even called the GBI because this standoff lasted 16
Yeah,
hours.
and Georgia State troopers
Hmm.
too.
There was tons of police in that neighborhood.
And then the original officer is still just hanging
Yep.
on by the garage. And they finally, when SWAT came in, because with armored vehicles and stuff, like they can do a lot more than just like your normal patrol car. They couldn't even bring patrol cars in because they would have got shot at.
Hmm.
But do you watch SWAT? Like SWAT,
I
the show?
watched it with Jade.
Dude, Jade's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
Obsessed.
I do
Um,
love that guy that was on Criminal
Hondo
Minds.
Street.
The
Street is his name on SWAT. Is he older or younger?
younger.
Pretty boy?
Yeah.
Yeah, Street. I don't know what his real name is.
I don't either,
His
but
name
he's
is
so
Street
handsome.
on SWAT.
I don't
He's
remember
cute.
his name from
I like
Criminal Minds.
Deacon on SWAT. The older SWAT officer with the salt and pepper. He's like looks like what Santa would look like in July.
Huh?
Like fit and like but like short beard.
Yeah. What
He is
Santa
he's
would look
what do they call it? Silver
like.
fox?
Yeah.
Yeah. He is definitely that. Definitely. But
I'll have to watch it.
Jade likes Street too.
I do
She
too.
she thinks he's cute.
He's a
He
cutie.
is cute.
He is cute.
No,
But
so
yeah.
all to say SWAT team comes in, does what SWAT team does, but like the team of officers that were first responding and just the local PD, they're bad dudes, like bad dudes. For real, for real.
I
All of
always
them.
think about
All of
that.
them. Badass
Every
dudes.
time I'm pulled over, I think about what did this person just come from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Let's be nice to them.
what if they had to put up
What
with?
if they just came from a 16-hour standoff?
Oh, well, they won't let them
Well,
do that.
I
Hopefully
know that.
not.
I know
Oh.
that. But like what
But
if he
we
came
don't
from
know.
something like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
You never know. You got
Yeah.
to be kind to your officers. With that being said, unfortunately, Sandra and her baby passed away. There is evidence that her 16-year-old son, Arkeyvon, was shot before all of
Officers
this
arrived.
all of
Yeah.
this happened. And then he unfortunately Tony took the gun to himself and committed suicide, and that's when the officers were able to go in and investigate, time of death of all of these people. But we wanted to talk about this because it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and I've dealt with domestic violence. I dated a guy in high school and
Mm-hmm.
he hit me, and
Mm-hmm.
it's very important to
Yeah.
get this information out that you don't have to I know it's hard to get out of it,
Mm-hmm.
and it takes a lot of tries to do it, and a lot of confidence and a lot of resources.
Yeah.
But I think it's important to talk about.
And I think to your point, like I had a boyfriend in high school that was physical with me as well. Obviously, I was young. I was a freshman, and it was like we had been dating for 6 months, or like we didn't even go on dates. I was 14. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
You were
But
boyfriend and girlfriend at school.
right, but he was a junior, and there were definite physical things that happened, but I think although we say domestic violence, like which legally means you have to live together, but no,
It could be
assaults
anything.
are assaults,
Yeah.
and no matter if you live together or not, have kids together or not, um,
Or dating or not.
same gender,
Yes.
other genders, whatever the siblings,
Mm,
whatever it is, I feel like it is all difficult. It does require a lot of resources, so we're gonna link some,
mm,
but also just find someone to talk to if you can't in your day life, message us on Instagram
for
or
real.
Facebook or TikTok.
Yeah.
It's just very important to talk to someone. Let someone,
In on it.
yep. And if you don't feel comfortable with anyone that's in your personal, like in your life, person to person, then reach out to us. We will keep you anonymous.
Yes, absolutely.
Would never ever share that and do whatever we can to help, but
If you don't want to reach out to someone, someone like your friends
right.
here or your friends at home, there's a ton of resources when it comes to staying anonymous.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a fun, it's when I was going through it, it was embarrassing. Like I didn't want to tell anybody that that was happening to me. So
Mm-hmm.
you can stay anonymous. There is a 1-800 number that's absolutely free. You can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number is 800-799-7233. 800-799-7233. And if you're not in a place where you can talk, maybe that person is in your vicinity, you can also text
Yes.
88788. You can
Yep.
text, it's a free text line. Someone will get back to you. 88788.
Yep. And then there's also too, if you are able to look on, especially Facebook, I feel like is good for this. There are groups that you
Mm-hmm.
can join on there, and every member in there is anonymous,
Yeah.
and even the people that run it are anonymous, but there are people in there you can talk to, but they're also posting other resources. And usually there's one like for an area.
Yeah.
So there are shelters they can put you in touch with, certain things like that that are actually local
To
to
you.
you. Not like if we're in Tennessee, not something that's gonna be in like Minnesota.
Yeah.
Like how will we get to Minnesota, you
Yeah.
know? So search on Facebook, but definitely reach out and talk to someone anonymously or not. Um,
And we're here for you
and don't be
always.
embarrassed ever.
No, don't. It's not your fault.
There is no judgment.
There's one person who should be embarrassed, and that is the perpetrator
Mm-hmm.
for being such a sissy,
Yep. Such an
such a
asshole.
bitch. God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm.
You're
Such a
gonna have
such a sad story.
it is a sad story.
Yeah.
And to think
Um,
Arkeyvon was 16 and you're about to have a 16-year-old on
I know.
Sunday.
I know.
Happy
It's
birthday,
true.
Bentley.
Happy birthday, Betty.
I
I
can't
know.
believe that.
I know.
Is it like a full circle thing? Because you were
Yeah.
16 and pregnant?
I was
Could you imagine?
16 when the whole thing, when he was a whole, he was, I had never thought, I didn't even want kids. I didn't even want them. And it was like, oh shit, you're gonna have a baby. Yeah, I was 16. So it is full circle. Um, but it's kind of, it's kind of, I don't know, it's a different feeling for it to be full circle. Like it's not, it's just cool to see him become who he is. And, seeing certain things, I'm like, man, he's so different from what I was, but then there's some things I'm like, he's so much like I was.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it's I remember when, like before he was born, when I was pregnant with him, being like, oh, when he turns 16, I'll be 33. And oh my God, like that seems lifetimes away.
Yeah.
Literally, like we would never make it there.
Uh-huh.
That's so far away. And then it was like I blinked like twice. And I'm like, oh shoot. Bentley's 16 now and I'm 33. It's crazy. Crazy.
They grow up so fast.
They
That's what they
do.
say, right? They
The
grow up
years,
so
the
fast.
days are long, the years are short, and
Yep.
that's a fact. But he's a really good kid.
He is a good boy.
I mean, I'd like to take all the credit. I can't, but
You can take a lot of it.
I can take a lot of it, but I can probably take most of it. But he's a really great mixture of all of the whole village that's been behind
Raising
him
him.
and me
Mhm.
throughout his life. But also like there's just so much uniqueness about him too that's really cool that I'm like, no, that's not really anybody else's trait, or that's not really like anybody I like that.
It's just
That's
Bentley.
just God given. Like that's just yeah, that's him. That's who he is. But
He's a good boy.
he is good. He is good.
Well, happy birthday, Bentley.
Yeah.
All right, let's wrap this up.
Oh,
We got some big stuff coming next
we
month.
do.
Big.
And next week is also our 2-year anniversary.
Yeah, we gotta do something.
We
Well,
do.
we were planning our Halloween costumes before we got on
Mm-hmm.
recording. So that will be really fun. Watch for
Yes.
that. Watch for a fun video from Bentley's birthday party,
Yeah.
his sweet 16. There were some big surprises.
It was
So watch for
awesome.
that video on
That's why we're so tired today, because it was yesterday. We're exhausted.
We're exhausted. Stayed out way too late, but it was so fun. It was
It
great.
was
It was
perfect.
great. All right.
Okay, so big stuff next month. Like big stuff. We might I have an idea for something cool we could do for our 2-year thing next week.
Okay.
Um, and remember that if you are suffering from, or someone is suffering from, a loved one, a friend, or even something in your house and you're not the one on the other end of
Receiving.
the domestic violence, please talk to someone, call, text the hotline, and or all else fails, please reach out to us on social media.
Mhm.
You will remain anonymous, so we will try and help you in any way that we can.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, that's the Expired podcast.
If you're gonna be an asshole, be a funny one. I'm stealing your line.
Don't do meth
Keep your
and keep
pistol
your pistol in your pants.
and be kind to each other.
Take care of each
Take
other.
care of each other.
Yeah,
Here we go.
please take care of each other. We love you
This
guys.
is the Expired Podcast.
Bye. I think you laughed and got blurry. There you go.